Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Horrific Chats. In this stream, we talk to various horror creators to discuss their inspirations and influences, as well as to talk about their journey into horror. Tonight, we're joined by Eric Kapitan, horror author and poet. Evening, Eric. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, so if I get over my crippling shyness and forget how to ask questions, just give me a poke here and there. But
No worries.
hopefully that's we can remember how to.
I'll ask you
all these
questions on
things.
you.
Yeah, you're coming across a wee bit crackly there. Is that
can you
your?
hear me better now?
You got a wee bit of a buzz. Is that?
Is it? How about now?
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah,
We're good?
yeah.
Okay.
Joys of technology, right? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can set everything up beforehand, but the minute you go live, it's out of your hands. You kind of
Exactly.
you have to bow for the internet gods, and it's like, they may or may not, but so is a good stream. I've had some fun and games doing this. So, how's life treating you anyway? I know you've been putting a few things on Facebook. You're attending events and so forth. You keep busy?
Yeah, I'm trying to, as far as writing goes, I took a bit of a break. I'm trying to get back into it. I recently finished a novella, but I ended up scrapping because I just didn't really care for it, which kind of sucks. It kind of me about a damn it took me like months to write it. To actually write something for months and months. Like, yeah, I'm not going to use this anymore. But that stinks. But I'm getting back to the swing of it. I'm working on some short stories. I'm doing a collection. So getting back to the swing of it. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been there myself. It's flipping. You're just like, you've got something put together, like, oh, that's not right. Yeah. And then you just throw it aside and you're like, don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
I am terrible. In fact, that's one thing. I'm terribly slow at writing. I've only done a few things, and I don't know. It's just getting that discipline to set the time aside. How do you do it? It's
I know. Yeah,
you've got life and everything else.
Yeah, especially when it's like, if it's not really your day job. Like, I have a day job. So it's more like I could say it's more like a hobby. It's not really a hobby, but I consider it like a hobby. Yeah, it's hard to find the time to sit down and do it. And I know it's too, like you mentioned that it takes a lot of time to write, right? Like for me, when I first started, I know I would put things out there like nothing. Like I'd write. Like there was a lot of times when I would try to work two things at the same time. And I'm like, man, I can really bring a paragraph. I feel like sometimes. It takes me a really super because I'll spend an hour just working on one paragraph sometimes.
Do you have like peaks and troughs? Do you get like bogged down in one paragraph all the time, or do you find it's just a particular part that you're like, oh god, can't get it right, and then next minute you're flying through things?
I think it's a part where I think let me forward if I have in my head, how I want it, but it's not necessarily like getting it on paper. Especially when it's like a really part that I consider I want to have just right. I can take that one down. Yeah. But once I get I can fly there eventually. But yeah, it can take some time.
All right, cool. Was writing always a thing for you? When did you realize this is what I want to do? I want to write. Has it always been part of your life, or is it something that just came about one day, or did you grow into it? How did it?
It's always been kind of a part of me. I've always kind of enjoyed stories that were like being like in fifth or grade, writing stories for class. I think when I actually started writing like horror when I was 10 years old, I saw Halloween for the first time. And that just really inspired me. I ended up writing like a bunch of like I called it Killer. And it was just like a series of Halloween ripoff short stories about this guy called Killer. And that's what I really got into as far as getting serious into writing. Probably not after college. Actually. Originally, I really wanted to do film, and that was my passion. Still my passion, but really what I was focused on. Like for a long time. I played a bunch of short films. That's why I went to school for. And then when I got out of college, it was really good. Like I was doing, this is really hard to do. Not in a kind of nurturing environment that allows you to do this. It can be done, but it's kind of a cool jump into. So it's like, this is a lot. This is really hard. So and I also had to get a real job. too. So I did a good job. I wasn't happy with. I had to do it. So I was kind of expressed a little bit. And I was gonna one day I was like going through my last laptop I had. And I found all these poems I wrote.
Eric, sorry, I have to cut it. I think we're getting a wee bit of. Have you got the microphone? Are you using a PC? Yeah.
I'm on a Mac and I have.
All right. Have you got the speakers next to the microphone?
I think so. Let me switch. Can I switch this up quick? I'll switch
yeah, sure. Usually, that's why I always have. You just use earphones because sometimes if you're you've got the speakers or the speakers are built in, you get a bit of a feedback loop.
That's weird because I'm using AirPods. So let me go ahead and I'll switch to my headset.
All right. Yeah. Do you know what it could be? It could actually be the. Actually, they run off Bluetooth. It shouldn't really be given a. So Eric actually has a proper interview after this, so he'll use me for the test and he'll get everything figured out. And then when he goes for the proper interview with an actual professional, you know what I mean?
Yeah, any better?
Yeah, I think we're trying again.
Let me see.
Oh, that's
resolution audio. Hello.
Oh, that's complete. That's
Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. That's actually come through. I don't know. The AirPods might be the signal, giving a bit of distortion. I'm just saying, you've got an actual proper interview, don't you, with an actual professional after this later on today?
Oh, sorry, you cut out there for a second. I'm sorry. I think part of the audio is my fault too. Well, it is my fault, obviously.
No. Here stuff. These things here, unless you do this every day. And like I said, anybody is more than welcome to go back through early streams, early videos, and you'll see some clangers and robot face and everything else. In fact, the reason why I leave it up there is to let people. That's one thing. What I try and do here as well is people get caught up about, oh, I can't do this. Oh, it must be pristine, perfect from the minute go, as if you're a TV studio, and that's not the real world. So never ever, never worry about it. You know, it's easy fixed and. If the audience aren't understanding, well, that's, what can you do about it? That's maybe not the best. No, I was just making a joke. I'm saying you've got an actual proper interview later on today, don't you? So you can use me for practice, and then when you go for the real interviewer, you can be all.
This is fine.
You can be all sorted.
Am I all clear now? Everything good?
Perfect. Yes.
Awesome.
Crystal.
Okay,
there's
excellent.
Chris on.
There. Sorry about that.
Thanks for the heads up, Chris. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Everybody else in chat as well. Across our platforms. Thanks for turning up. Obviously, more than welcome. This is what we like to do. You see an author, you see the book, you might see the Facebook post, but it's all about let's have a chat. Let's talk about the world. It's actually quite funny why we decided to do this. We were making fun of mainstream media outrage about satanic performances. What's your view in entertainment today, especially as a horror fan and somebody who likes to embrace the dark side? When the mainstream folks get all worried about stuff,
I just laugh at it. Like I feel like people are just way too sensitive today. Like the whole cancel culture thing. Like, oh man, it's just crazy. Like and I just can't imagine like a lot of the great movies that were around I was thinking about you know the movie Bad Lieutenant.
Oh yeah, that was Nicolas Cage, wasn't it?
No, there was Nicolas Cage. That was a sequel.
Oh no. There was Nicolas Cage did the remake.
Yeah, there was from 78. It was I can't think of the actor.
Robert Redford, was it? No, Nick Nolte, something like that.
Yeah, but anyways, I was thinking about that movie the other day. I'm thinking, man, how could they make that movie today? It couldn't be done. There's just no
Especially
way.
the same with the young girls in the car when he's outside.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's rough, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm thinking, man, there's just no way they could do it. And so that's why I kind of approach horror. I'm thinking, like, what can I do that is really like out of the like people would be really upset about? That's what I try to do. I try to upset people because I want them to be upset. I want them to be offended.
But I've said this from the start, and many people have talked to. Horror is that uncomfortable feeling. That's the
Yeah,
point. The point is to push boundaries. The point is to go to the dark places, because by doing that through the medium of art, you get it out of your system. You face it. Horrors, I think, is about as much facing fear and embracing it than feeling the thrill of fear. If that makes sense.
yeah, I agree. And it can be for fun too. Like, I wish I remember who said this. I was watching a documentary about horror films, and someone compared horror to like riding a roller coaster. You get that same thrill from it, that because obviously there's the fear aspect, and there's also
That
the
might have been
adrenaline
Dean
rush.
Koontz.
What's that?
I think that was Dean Koontz.
Oh, really?
It
Okay.
was either Dean Koontz or Wes Craven.
Okay. You know what? Maybe it may have been Wes Craven because I can't. It was some documentary about horror. I can't remember which who said it, but
If it was movies, it would have been Wes Craven then. If it was
mhm,
movie focused, a bit, you notice the documentaries, they either focus on the books or they focus on the movies. They never
mhm.
really seem to mix the two.
Yeah.
No, I
But
think it was those two. But it's true. That's why there's thrill seekers. That's why there's people jump out of airplanes. That's why people go on roller coasters and scary
yeah.
rides. The Ghost Train, one of the oldest, the most popular attractions at the carnival.
Hmm. Definitely. I feel like I didn't really answer your question, but maybe I kind of did. But
That's right. I love tangents here. Let's do it. Tangents are the best. Ask anyone that's watched this show for any length of time.
yeah, but honestly, yeah, I don't know. I just really hate, like, I hate cancel culture. I hate how they have to change things and like, oh, we have to make sure this is sensitive to, this particular group of people. I'm like, fuck that. It's like, I mean, I understand you have to be sensitive to people. Like, there is some, there's a fine line. Like, you don't want to like, as long, the way I look at it is I wrote to Edward Lee a while back. This was like a long time ago, on his website. I asked him like, what did he think? Like, I was just getting into really getting serious about writing, and I
Mhm.
said, I really admire your work. I want to be an extreme horror writer like you are. I was like, is there ever a boundary that you should not push? And he told me, he said, as long as it's not like terroristic or have anything to do with children, or racist, then you should go for it. That's what he said, pretty much. As long as it's, there's really nothing that can be untouched.
God, the racist word's being bandied about. But then again, that's an aspect of horror too.
Hmm. Well, I
So
had someone.
somebody
Oh,
being racist
hmm,
is, I think people forget. And when something becomes horror is when things aren't fluffy and nice anymore.
yeah,
So you go for the family picnic, and then a zombie beaver jumps out of the lake and eats one of the kids. That's the horror aspect, and the whole point is to see the nastiness. And if you see the nastiness, and you're not going, "Oh, that's for me," yippee, I don't think any of us do that.
yeah. I mean, definitely horror's not meant to be safe. It's not meant to be like, to be your safe place. It's meant to upset you, meant to make you question, things or see the dark side of things.
Yeah. Do you not think people need to self-regulate more?
Hmm.
Because all the pendulum's completely swung towards uh, sort of looking after the minority, and you wonder how much of it's actual outrage or fear or sensitivity, or how much of it's faked. Like the fake outrage, we're talking in the mainstream media, how I think between us we talked about 6 bands who've done more graphic and offensive videos as part of their mainstream stay than any of the guff that's going about now and being touted. I don't know, have we gone too far that direction? That we're constantly going for this small group of people who then have a bit of power, and then they're using that power like most people do. Somebody just has power thrust upon them. They realize, oh, I can dictate terms. Damn right, they're going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't really understand how people even get upset. Like when I see something, like when you're watching, like when I'm watching a movie, if I see someone, I don't know, like for example, I have I had scoliosis, and there was one
Mhm.
time I was watching that '70s show, and there was a scene they actually made fun of someone with scoliosis. I'm thinking, well, why would that upset me? I was
Sorry
thinking like
for the stupid people in the room. What's scoliosis?
scoliosis
I
is
know
where
I mean the stupid people.
um, it's where your spine is curved. Um, So it's like you have like a curved spine.
Oh right, one of my old
Yeah.
bosses had that. He had to get
Yeah.
drugs brought in. They had to be kept in the fridge. He had to get like the medication to treat that.
Yeah, I had to
And
wear
it
like
was
a
like
brace and
straight from courier delivery straight in the fridge, and it had like a week's shelf life.
Hmm.
Is that familiar, or is that
For
something
me, I
maybe
just had to
different?
wear a back brace. It was like
All
kind
right.
of
No,
like if I
his spine was proper.
I'm
Like
there's a different
rugged.
treatment I think now
Mm-hmm.
than when I had because I had it when I was like I had the surgery for it when I was 10. But anyways, I was thinking like I remember watching that. My mom was upset about it because she's thinking they're making fun of people with scoliosis, and I remember saying like, well, why? Why does it matter? It's like it's not they're not talking about me. They're just talking about people with scoliosis, but it's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's just the character saying it. Doesn't mean they actually think that.
But maybe that's we've talked about this before, but no, the difference between British humor and American humor, for example. British humor, we look at the fallibilities, and that's what
Hmm.
we laugh about because we see the fallibilities in ourselves. That's why a lot of our comedy is different. But in America, everyone seems to take themselves so bloody seriously,
Yeah, it's
and it's
true.
like,
It's
and
like
we
why?
see it as well in the horror circle. It's crept in a bit into the horror circles. You see it in social media. God, if it wasn't for this podcast, like you'd never see me on it.
Mm. Like I remember when we had the I don't want to get too far into this because I want to get into politics, but when we had the the kind of the outrage, we had the the riots here with police and everything going on,
Rats.
and
Sorry.
we
Sorry,
had
I grew up in East Belfast in the 80s. Rats. Sorry.
oh no, you're fine.
Bit of
So
pushing and shoving. Okay, right.
so we had like they we had we have a show called I'm sure you've heard of it, Cops. We had a show called Cops where they
Oh, is
follow
that that?
police around.
Oh, flip the camera thing.
Yeah, where they
The
follow the
the,
police
the
around and
precursor for reality TV, basically.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
they ended up canceling that show because of the outrage. And then they wanted to cancel. We have another show. It's a kid show called Paw Patrol. It's about these dogs that are like cops
Oh
and they're
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
no, they wanted to cancel that show because of that. I'm thinking, why are they canceling? It's a kid show about dogs that are cops. What do they wanted to cancel it because of that? I'm thinking that's just why. I mean,
But we get on along so much better now because of it. It's fantastic. Like we're
we
all
do.
best buds now, and no complaints. But yeah, what Chris says there, public uproar, minor complaints. There's actual legitimate issues.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, and the legitimate issues, if you don't have food in your belly, you don't have a roof over your head, you don't have clothes in your back, and every day is bleakness. You can't see the next day. We should be looking at that stuff.
Yeah. People
That's kind of
dying from
important.
COVID. I mean, that's more it's more important than dogs on TV.
Yeah, I'm sure they've done it to Roald Dahl as well. And I grew up in Roald Dahl. In fact, he was I would say he was borderline horror. Because you knew he likes the Twits and Matilda and the witches. I mean that was your gateway into horror.
Hmm.
Roald Dahl was not afraid to go into the dark side, even in kids' book. Like he was spicy. But as a kid, you loved it because he sort of went to the cusp as a, you know, primary school. What's that? Elementary school?
Elementary school, yep.
Below 11. Yep.
Mhm.
So yeah, primary school age. You know what I mean? That's you got introduced to Roald Dahl, and that kind of sparked. Oh, right. Not everything's fluffy and nice because like everything, sugar and sweetness all the time starts to get fake and bit trite. You need to vary your diet, like
Yeah.
a lot of things. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get apart from power. People getting power over things and then enjoying wielding that power. I think that's what it's become now.
Like I had like someone get upset because I used in one of my books I used I'm not going to say it like a derogatory word against gay people, which it wasn't me saying it. It was the character saying it.
Yeah, and then
But
you're showing
but
the
they got
character to be
upset.
who the character is.
Yeah, but they got upset because it was in the book, but it wasn't me saying it. It was the character saying it because that's the type of character they are. They're a ignorant bigot. You know what I mean? They're going to say things like that. That's what they, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you turned up protesting pride marches and you know Bible thumping and making statements on social media every day. That's what I mean.
That'd be different, of course.
That's
If me myself was saying that, then I would understand
yeah.
them being upset. Like I can't remember what group it was in this. Like they were talking about like using like racist language in books, like for characters that are racist. They're saying that you shouldn't use those words, that you should find other ways. There's other ways you can show someone is racist in the book
And
without
how many
using
books has that
which
person
makes,
created?
I mean, I guess you can, but I mean, if you're racist, you're gonna say those words. I mean, that's what, you know what I mean? Like nobody's
And was said racist person the hero of the book?
in I'm not, well, it actually
Were
what's
they the
funny is
hero?
in my book, in one of my books, Warm, there is a character. He's not really a hero, but he's the main character, and
Yeah.
he's a racist. He's racist in the book, but he's like, but you follow him around, kind of like, I'm trying to think of like a comparison, like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Like he's the main character of that movie, but he's not necessarily the hero.
Or sorry, not the
But you,
protagonist. The
yeah, he's like the anti-hero, I would say. Like he's not somebody you would get behind, and root for, but in a creepy way, you would, because you get to know him as a person. But even though it's kind of a taboo, I think it would be kind of taboo to identify with somebody like that, obviously. But that's the kind of the point that I was trying to make with this book, is that, or with horror, is that you can kind of identify with people that are not necessarily good people, but they're still people.
yeah, because not everything's. And I hate this dichotomy of good and bad.
Hmm.
That everything that's evil, just virtuous. There's a whole plethora of grayness in
Yeah.
between. And that's what's really boring, and it's actually destroyed art
Mm.
and creativity. And we see it in the mainstream. Like flipping, you watch one movie now, you read one book, and it's bland as hell. There was an anthology I started reading. It was all that virtue signaling stuff in it, and you're like, really? I got it, and the stories were absolutely shit. I got to be two stories. I can't,
Ugh.
because there's no depth to the character. And how can you challenge a thought if somebody doesn't have it?
Hmm.
So how can you challenge somebody's racism if they aren't a racist to start with? The original sin of racist that we all are, apparently. Freaking absolute madness. Um, I don't know, man. I just don't see what people are trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, like, racism is always going to exist. It's not going to go away. Sadly, it's not. It's just part of. It's just life. It's not
But
going
it's
anywhere.
everybody. It's
Yeah,
it's not just restricted to one tone or color tone. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Everyone experience. I live in London, and you meet everybody. What's really interesting is you you hear people's prejudice from others, other groups against other groups that have nothing to do with you. So if you weren't even there, that would still happen.
wow,
Sectarianism, between various other religions. It's just funny because it's part of the human, it's part of the tribal aspect of humanity.
hmm. It
Um,
is.
we look for our own way, and some of us are weird, and that's the thing about horror. We've always been weirdos,
Yeah,
and we've always been outside this nonsense, and all of a sudden, because of this crowd have ramped through every other genre, they're now putting their eyes towards us, going, "Oh, we can move here because people are welcoming and friendly." Because that's all we expect. It's like, "Oh, you like the same weird shit I do? Ah, well, come on board,
that's the thing with like the
get fun
horror
off as
community.
well."
The horror community has like nicest people. I think like going to like conventions and things like that. They're always super nice. Like that's I love the horror community. Like you always meet great people.
But isn't it great the fact that people with the darkest thoughts and put like the creepy, and we laugh at people like. If we were talking about a horror movie and somebody's getting dismembered, we'd both be laughing at the amount of blood flat about the place and the fact bones are sticking out, and we'd be like tittering and teeing like little schoolgirls. Do you know what I mean? And the guy's his eyes out, he was crying while he was, But it doesn't mean like if you like one thing in movies, if they kill a dog or the cat, I'm like, oh, I can't,
Oh yeah,
can't watch,
I
can't watch
hate
this.
seeing animals get killed in books or movies. Like it bothers me more than seeing people die.
Flip James Herbert, The Fog. There's a particular scene in that, and that was my first experience of somebody writing about mutilating an animal,
Yep.
and I was just like, oh my god, oh god, no, and I nearly stopped reading the book. It was a bit of a, I was quite young. I was still in my teens.
Mm.
And it was that first experience, that graphic sort of, whoa.
Wow. For me, it was I read the Jack Ketchum book Red. But
Oh god, yeah. Oh my
yeah,
god, that is.
that
I still
bothered me
haven't
so
watched the
much.
movie.
I haven't seen
Um,
the movie either.
I can't remember who it is. He's well known. He's a long term actor. He plays. I've only seen clips on Facebook that pop up now and again. But yeah, that book. And that didn't pull any punches.
No, man, I love Jack Ketchum he was a great author. Well, he is a great author, but I mean, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to meet him a couple times too,
All right, cool.
which was really cool. He used to do because I think he lived in New England, and there was a horror convention we used to do called Rock and Shock in Worcester, Massachusetts, and he would be at it every year, and I always would come up and talk to him, buy a book. Gave him, like, when I first put my first book out, I gave him a copy of it
Mm-hmm.
because it was,
Okay, actually, talking about your writing, one thing I noticed because you've featured two stories in our podcast. I love Not Deceased and Night of the Undead Horrors.
yes.
Sorry, I can't spell. I still can't. I love that. Sorry, I'll get on that next question. But two completely different styles of book. Still know it's you. You know, and I've read both, and I know it's you. But do you find yourself that you want to consciously change your style for each book, or was Night of the Undead Horde like a side project? Do you have a particular beat and rhythm that when you're writing? Is it something you even think about when you're trying to create stories?
Honestly, I don't know, like uh with the Love Not Deceased, I did want to do something different. Because I always wanted that, like, the idea of, like, this is gonna sound weird, but
Here, we love it. Here, we love a bit of weirdness. Bring it
you
on.
know, necro, necro stuff kind of was fascinating to me. Like, how could someone desire that? Like, how would someone desire having sex with a dead body? Like,
After they're
who would
gone, yeah.
be into that? You know what I mean? So that was something I really wanted to explore. And I'll be honest too. Like, the movie Necroromantic, that movie, when I saw that movie, like, I was like, wow, like, that movie really inspired Love Not Deceased big time, as far as, like, the characters and the style of it. But as far as, like, writing goes, like, I don't know. I just like, I wanted to try, and I never wrote a book in first person before, so I
Hmm.
wanted to try doing that with Night of the Undead Horrors, and it's funny because I actually found that it was easier to write that way, um, which was interesting. I don't know why, it just felt like, I don't know what it was about it, but felt like it was easier to write as opposed to writing,
In
like, trying to
third person
describe.
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, third person. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know why. I don't know why it was easier, but it just felt like it came quicker. Um,
Cool. Well, I know everyone has their, that's what I'm saying about particular flavor.
mhm.
You kind of find a beat as, so is that something you want to explore in future?
Yeah, I
Uh,
think so.
but do you want to mix it up, or do you think if you get into like a comfortable style, you'll stay in it, or do you consciously try to go, no, getting too comfortable here, wanna wanna make sure I shake myself off?
Well, with
What kind of plays in the mind is your?
like, I'm working on a short story collection now,
Mhm.
and that's a mix of everything. There's first person, third person. Some of the stories are more extreme. Some of the stories are more like oddball, weird stuff. So I'm trying a bit of everything, I think. As far as, like, my particular style, I feel like, hmm, I feel like it's more about the themes for me. Like with Night of the Undead Horrors, it's probably not so evident in Night of the Undead Horrors, but in A Love Not Deceased, that's very much about loneliness, and relationships and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
alone. Like, I kind of focus on that a lot in my work, and I don't know, that was like because for the longest time that was kind of a central theme for my books, and I don't know, I just find that interesting. I guess, like, like, what would someone do to actually find, like, their match or to fit into the world? However, how morbid or strange it might be. Yeah, so for me, it's more the themes, I guess. Like, I like trying to focus on weird stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Like
good. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to fit in this world, and I don't think I ever will.
yeah, me too.
Do
I
you
still
know what? I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Sorry,
like,
Chris is putting firing questions in the night. I wonder if horror fans are more well adjusted, maybe, because I haven't avoided or been sheltered from the horrific aspects of life. I suppose that's a fair point
I could see
because,
that.
like you said, at convention and everything else, generally for the most part, and my experience with this show and people I've talked to, outstanding, friendly people. The only people I've found to be kind of like caustic are the sort of ones that are just there for their own gain, especially in groups and that. And when they're hiding behind an avatar and typing,
Mhm.
people can be really snarky and nasty coming out of nowhere. And I've shared the screenshots because if somebody like I've had people DM me
I've
over
seen that.
random stuff. And I'm
I've
like,
seen that.
why would you do that? What have I done? Just by sure, that's sure your guy stuff. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Because we all got to work together. That's how we succeed, especially when the corporations have control of everything.
Mhm.
The only way we get to get our voices out there is to band together into little groups and do our best to
Yeah.
prop each other up. That's how it all works. By doing something like sharing somebody's story and somebody gets that upset about it that they actually private message you, you're like, what's going
Well,
on in your life?
in a way, it's kind of cool because you know that you made some kind of an impact on them,
Yeah.
even if
Level
it's a negative
3.
one.
Random angry person.
Yeah. Like I tell you, like I got reviewed for one of my books, Fireflies of the Dead. I got a 0 out of 5 star review. This person, they hated it, but I used it for advertising because I was like, I'm going to use this because they just called it. They, I wish I could find the quote for it, but let me see if I can find it actually, because it was just ridiculous. Like it wasn't ridiculous. Like I respect their opinion, of course, but it was just funny because I just liked it so much that I think it was like there was like too taboo to care, is what they said. And I was like, I'm going to use that to, because
Flipping
I
right.
figured
That's
people would, because people out there might want to read that. They might be interested.
yeah, that's
It's funny.
just supposed to talk about the sort of you're independently published, is that correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
self-publish.
you went down that road. Once again, I don't like to talk about or talk in the way of this is the way to go. One thing about this is particularly when trying to reach people who maybe haven't stepped onto the camera for the first time, haven't picked up the pen, they're thinking about creating, that there's more than one avenue. Because everyone thinks, you have to be, everything has to be done this, that, and the other, or else you have no chance. How do you find the self-publishing experience? Pros and cons?
Well, the cons are, I'll start with the cons first, I guess. Everything is on you as far as like the promotion, getting everything done, the money, that's all on you. So that can be hard. That's really difficult. Um, and I would say, I guess the other cons are, that's really the big con, I actually think, is everything is on you. But also, the pro is that everything's on you. Also, because you can handle anything, you can have everything the way you want it exactly. The book cover, the way it's written, the way it's edited, everything. You have complete control over it. And I've tried doing traditional publishing, and I had a couple short stories published with a publisher, which I'm not going to name the publisher because they're not around anymore. And it
Or
was just a really bad experience. I just didn't. Just the they they completely screwed up the format of the book when they put it in. It was just, excuse me, the story, and it was just awful. It was a really bad experience. Now,
did
not
they
all
edit the
publishers
story, or was it just the way it was laid out?
so they had like, for some reason, they had the story in there, and they had like the beginning and at the end. So they had like the beginning part, the beginning
Oh,
section
they
of the
copied and
story.
pasted the paragraphs?
Yeah, they copied and pasted it at the end too. So it was repeating itself. I'm thinking, what the hell? And I don't know how they missed that, because I was thinking, well, was it the way something I did? I looked at my files multiple times. I'm like, no, this was just them. Like I don't know how they did this. I'm thinking, man. So I had that experience, and that was not good. And then
And how was the reaction when I guess you told them about it?
I told them about it, and they did eventually fix it, which was good. But I'm thinking, how does that happen to begin with? Like, I understand, like, it was a small press, so everybody
Mhm.
make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and I was fine with it. Like, I was like, it's fine. The stuff happens. I mean, I've made errors like that myself, um, as far as the format goes, and I fixed it. And then the second time, I had a short story, and they didn't pay me, so I'm thinking, nope, I'm done. I was done
God,
with that. I
it's
wasn't happy with that, which is fine. Other people have had positive experiences with them that when they were around. So I'm not gonna like badmouth anybody because I don't want to. Because I'm not about that.
no, no, no. That's what I mean. You can give constructive criticism, and that's
Yeah.
what I try to get away from here. You can palm things. You can say this didn't work, but
Mhm.
as long as you have the backup reason, okay, this is why it was a bad experience, rather than they're a bunch of shitheads, so I hate them guys. You know what I mean? That's not the mature way, but just saying, okay, because this happened, that happened. That's
Yeah.
fine. You're respectful. You're not naming them.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's more inherent problems because they're not around anymore. So that's got to say it all.
Yeah. And they were
Um,
really nice people. Like they were always, obviously they fixed the issue right away when I said it. But
mhm.
and the plus side, I got the stories. I have the rights to the stories back, and I'm going to republish them in this collection I'm doing.
Not
So it'll
wasted.
be able to put it the way I want to have it in there. So I'm happy.
Yeah. So we're talking about as a start. You took a break from social media.
Mhm.
Is that just because of things going on with yourself, or was that because of social media being bonkers?
Um, it's because it was so I don't know. This the people. I mean, people people complain on the internet. Big surprise, right? But it was just I was getting kind of tired of it. Like it was just like, oh, you know what? The heck with this. And then I don't know. And then with the writing, like, man, I don't know. When you feel like you have to force yourself to do it, you just know, like, no, this isn't working. You know what I mean? Like it should be like when I sit down, I write because I have to write because I enjoy doing it, but I
Hmm.
also have to do it because for a while, like I was realizing when I wasn't writing or doing anything creative, I was depressed. I was thinking this isn't. So in order to get out of my depression or not be depressed, I have to write. I have to create something. And it's not the type of depression where I would be like, unhappy, like, oh, I hate my life. Not that type of depression. I just mean because I feel like I have to do something. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I'm not the type of person that can just get up, go to work, go to bed, do it. You know what I mean? Do
Stare
it
at the
all.
TV screen and just be
Yeah,
like,
I wanna. I have to do something. I mean, I like watching TV. I'll admit that.
yeah, but it's about
But yeah,
it's a balance. But that's why I'm terrible in relationships actually, because a lot of women have been involved. But that's all I want to do is they want you to come home from work and they want you just to sit in the sofa and do nothing. And you're like,
okay.
that's not me. That's not why you got involved with me. you know,
Well, I'll have to say my girlfriend is actually really supportive of what I do. She actually like yesterday. This was a joke, but she actually locked me in the room to like. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna lock in this room and finish writing these pages." She did.
here
And she,
that's fair play to you.
yeah.
That's the best sort of support when you've got people
Mhm.
like rooting for you.
Mhm.
That's the best thing. Like I've got some of the greatest friends, and we'll jump on and we'll do silly stuff together.
Yeah.
And have a laugh. But at the end of the day, that's what makes life worth living
Mhm.
because we can all work ourselves to death. We could all just sleepwalk through life, but then what's the point?
Yeah. Exactly.
I think if you're a creative, there's always that itch, isn't there?
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
just
It's
about
always
like
there.
if I wasn't doing this, I'd definitely be doing something else.
Mhm.
But there's no way I would just sit and be consuming all the time or just sitting staring at a wall. Like
Mhm.
what is the actual point? The whole point is that experience life, and there's no better way I think than through creativity, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think people? Sorry,
oh no, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, do you think people get caught up with the money aspect
Um,
with
I want to
creativity?
know
And
you mean as far as like making money or spending the
yeah,
money?
because there's some I've noticed, like when I first started this podcast, and I've talked to you guys obviously about it, that people were like, "Where's my money?" Like, what are you talking about? You've got
Money
to
for
pay
being on
me.
the
I'm
podcast?
like, what? Yeah, remember when I was first putting out the ask for excerpts of stories,
Mhm.
the get the horrific tale segment going. There's people actually that got proper aggressive. Going, what do you mean you're not paying us? Like, what do
What?
you mean, mate?
It's the exposure. I mean,
It's like if
yeah.
I don't have to do it, I can. What do I do about 3, 4 videos a week at least?
Yeah, you could do this other stuff. You could be focusing on doing your own work. I mean,
Flipping
doing
could. I could get my fifth book out, you know,
yeah.
or my other 3/4 of the book is sitting there that don't want to touch yet because I'm not in the headspace to finish it off.
And I got to say this, like if your intent is to make money to write, it's not going to happen. No, no, it's not. No, it's not going to happen because unless you're like Stephen King or like some, big, unless your book blows up, it becomes like a phenomenon. Like, and I hate to say this, but 50 Shades of Grey, you're not going to make any money. It's how it is. I mean,
Actually, there's you did in 54 pages with Night of the Undead Horrors,
mhm.
right? Really gripping, like punchy story. But got you right there. I wish I had time actually. I know we only organized this like at the weekend. I wish I had time to reread over everything and pick up something else before we did this. So forgive me for sounding a bit daft
Oh,
because
you're
it's been a
fine.
minute.
No worries.
But compare that to likes of a New York Times bestseller. You know, your 500-page plus. Is that really necessary, or how much of it's bloated? And
What's funny? I was actually just talking about that. I actually did another interview today on Facebook with the bold mom. And I was talking about how like I like writing novellas because I feel like I like writing novellas and I like reading novellas because I feel like they're
Mhm.
just they're quicker paced. I feel like they're more enjoyable to read because yeah, I feel like a long book like that can be just a lot of filler or you know I just don't feel like it's necessary unless you have like some huge epic tale, I guess, like Lord of the Rings type
You've world
style.
build. You've actually created a world, and it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught when we did when I did the deep dive into Stephen King's It.
Hmm.
Like the worst aspect of doing that was reading the bloody book. I
Yeah, because
was
he over
snoring.
describes everything.
I was like going, "Oh my god, is this ever going to end?" Like, and see the last chapter, couple of chapters, the final act. Like, Jesus Christ, would you just fucking kill somebody already? Come on. and
Yeah.
I was mentally exhausted at the end of it.
And it's weird. I'm not really, I mean, I respect Stephen King, but I'm not really a big fan of him. I just never, I read his work in high school, like, Pet Cemetery, Christine, like all the ones Salem's Law, all the books he's well known for. But I don't know. Even then, I just never really got into him. For me, it was like Clive Barker was huge,
Oh god,
huge for
I,
me.
I've really got back into, and in fact, that's I'm keeping our reviews of any Clive Barker stuff to when I've got Adam and Cameron because
Mm.
such a laugh. But yeah, I'm going to be starting Books of Blood one. I've started 4 to 6. I'm going to start Books of Blood 1 to 3.
Oh, nice.
Um, but oh my god, like short stories, the punchiness of them, like the griminess, and you're there, and before you know it, it's over, and you're like, oh, like holy shit, and you've had an experience.
I love Rawhead Rex. That's my favorite, I think.
We will be talking about that movie. In fact, if you've got time, sometime we'll get that scheduled up. We need to talk about that movie.
Definitely.
Uh it gets panned so much.
But when you read the short story though, and you see the movie, like man, there's just so much potential. It could have been so like I wish somebody would give him the money to remake that movie and let him direct it and let him,
Well, I don't know
oh
how he's
he's
going to be able to do that lately because
yeah,
he's on the downward spiral,
that's true too. Yeah, that's
which is
you
a
know, I
shame.
it's funny because I keep forgetting like that. Like I forget like all these like heroes of mine, like the man, they're older now and they can't do, you know, man, it is sad, but someone should do it. Someone that, you know, could do it justice.
Well, there's plenty. That's the thing about the horror genre. Um, a lot of people do it for the love of the franchise
Hmm.
and the art. The art expression. It's not. It's funny because like last year, like the cinema scene was absolutely terrible, but it was horror movies that kept the doors open,
Hmm.
and yet everyone thumbs their nose at horror.
Well, it's funny
Um,
because I can't remember. I think it may have been Document of the Dead. They're talking or that other horror documentary I was watching, where it seems like whenever there's like a tragedy, like some like catastrophic event that's going on in the world, that's when horror like thrives. Um, so is that kind of funny? Like we had the COVID pandemic, and so it's kind of funny that it's kind of like it's true because horror really was.
Yeah, people start looking up the Andromeda strain and the
Yeah.
Omega Man and flipping all the Charlton Heston ones and just everything you could find about viruses.
Oh yeah, that movie Outbreak, it was big. I think Full Moon actually made a COVID. They were like one of the first to make a COVID zombie movie, I think.
Well, 28 Days did it better. They did it first. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. Um, yeah, that's strange the attitudes the people have towards this genre, and that's one of the things I'm trying to break down. I'm trying to break down this stupid stereotype that people have,
Yeah.
because I don't get it.
Like, man, I remember in college, I would fight with my professor who was my screenwriting. He was my film studies professor,
Mhm.
and we did a script workshop class. And I would argue with him constantly about like horror is a. He would talk about like he would kind of dismiss it like horror, But I'm thinking no, it's important. It's an important genre. I mean, for God's sake, one of the first movies to be made was horror. I mean, it's without it's horror is very important in both literature and in all aspects of media.
The greatest, we when Nosferatu turned 100, we watched it again and reviewed it, and my God, that movie still it's black and white
Still,
silent film, and it still bloody holds up.
yeah, it's
Especially
creepy
the
as
boat
hell.
scene.
Yeah,
Like that was done on a stage. There's no. This is a stage play without a doubt, just transposed on the camera. But that bloody boat scene and the way he glided across and didn't miss a beat. Like, could you see some flipping superhero roided up, meathead being as graceful?
no, I mean even movies like Psycho. Like I watched the original Psycho the other day. I'm
Yeah,
thinking, man, this movie's it's still like, and I've seen it like a bunch of times, but it's still one of those movies where you can just watch it and like you're still involved in it, even though you know what's going to happen, but it's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, movies like that, like they still Night of the Living Dead, even
that
like
turns
all those
40.
movies.
That turns 40 this year.
Wow, it's crazy.
I know, it just and this still holds up. You
I
can
just
watch
feel
it
like,
again, and it's funny the way they always focus on Leatherface, but it's actually the Sawyer family
hmm
is the real horror.
yeah,
He's just a dumb kid that
the
was brought
hitchhiker.
up
Yeah,
by lunatics. But it's the actual Sawyer family who relish in what they do. And that's I think people gloss over that bit, because for cutesy, Funko Pops.
did you see the new one that Netflix was
Oh,
on
Jesus
Netflix?
Christ. Oh, my
Oh, I couldn't watch. I tried.
God. Okay, right. I'll say this for it. It's worth it for the bus scene.
Hmm.
Suffering through the movie is worth it for the bus scene alone.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
cancel. We're gonna cancel. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Huh? The
you can
effects were really
count. That's how you do the cancel culture.
yeah.
If there's time to, I was curious what Eric's favorite horror authors or movies are.
Ooh, favorite horror authors.
Thanks, Chris. You're saving me a lot of work here. I'm just going to I'll just let you ask all the questions. I'll just like,
Yeah, man.
easiest
I'd
interview
say
ever.
I'd say Edward Lee, Jack Ketchum, and you know what? It's funny, but R.L. Stein. I loved R.L. Stein as a kid. The Goosebumps books. I
Mm-hmm.
love those books, and that even though those influenced me as to write. But yeah, definitely Edward Lee, Clive Barker, Jack Ketchum, R.L. Stein. Movies. That's really tough because I feel like it always changes. But I'd say Halloween, Night of the Living Dead, um, Necromantic, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I just have just tons of movies. But
You just, I couldn't answer that question. I honestly couldn't. James Herbert, Clive Barker. God, I'm trying to think. They're definitely because I started off in the fantasy genre. Like my favorite author of all time is Terry Pratchett, no doubt. Like
mm,
him and Raven E. Feist are my two favorite authors of all time, just because their writing style. But in horror, it definitely has to be Clive Barker, James Herbert. Dean Koontz is, I think, very underrated as a horror author. He brings new and interesting ideas and isn't afraid to switch it up. Although I'm not too funny or fussed about his, God, I can't remember what he called her, but his spy series
oh, yep.
is very, very strange. You know, the one about play Manchurian with me and everyone's got a chip in their head. I
Yeah.
found that one very, God, but who was that? Tom Clancy, he tried to write like Tom Clancy and just he didn't pull
Tom
it off.
Clancy. I don't never read any Tom Clancy.
Wasn't he did the Pelican Brief?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the Pelican Brief. Good. Didn't he do the who do you call that? Hunt for Red October? Was that Tom Clancy? Or am I mixing them up?
I don't think that was him. I don't know if that was. It's out the top of my tongue too.
Ah, God,
I don't know if it was. I don't think it was Tom Clancy though.
I think it might have been. I'm going on a limb here, thinking that he did Hunt for Red. You know the God, what do you call him? Jack, whatever his face is.
I'm gonna take a look and see right now. I'm gonna cheat.
Google's our friend. Sometimes when it's
it wasn't
until I bought YouTube actually. I didn't mind Google until
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan.
Yep.
The Jack Ryan series. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it was Tom.
Yeah,
Clancy.
Tom Clancy. The Jack Ryan series, The Hunt for Red October. God, what the one they're playing? Air Force, because they had Alec Baldwin play the first one, wasn't it? No. Yeah, and then they got Harrison Ford because Alec Baldwin wasn't famous enough.
Oh man,
they had him play Jack Ryan the whole time.
Why am I drawing a blank with this?
It doesn't, you know what I mean? But that's the thing about Dean Coots. He tried to write like Tom Clancy and just didn't pull it off. I don't know, man. There's so much. Like I watch a lot of. You probably know I watch a lot of cheesy horror movies, a lot of independent stuff.
Me too.
But there's more heart, I think, put into those movies, and the only thing really is budget. That's the only thing they're missing. And like you said, the whole thing with Clive Barker was if he had the budget. But what I would be concerned about is the minute you get the budget, then you have the committee.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Then you lose. Because once so much money goes into something, then it stops being the art form and it becomes about marketing and getting that money back.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, it's a business. So they do.
Although the Terrifier series seem to have done quite well. Just by having private backers and crowdfunding.
I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one yet.
All right, well, we'll cover a whole lot. And I've just completely spaced the director's name, even though I've been talking. Damien Leone.
Yep.
And they're flipping. I'm getting old and grey. Honestly, my marbles are going.
Yeah, that killed it in the theaters too. Like that was.
That's what I'm saying. It was.
Yeah.
Every other franchise is dead and down and operating at a loss, and horror is just going.
Yeah. Did you see the new Halloween Ends? Everybody hated that movie, but I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, was it perfect? No, it definitely felt like it was rushed. I feel like they wanted to do something else, and this was kind of like a last minute thing. Like I definitely feel like they were trying to do something else with it.
I did a review on it on the channel. The first scene, great. It really set it up. When they got to the bit in the doctor's house, where Michael Myers and that, who do you call him? The weird guy.
Corey, was it? Who
Corey,
was
yes.
Corey? Was it Corey?
Michael and Corey on a killing spree together. You're like, this is daft as hell. And that's when I noped out of the movie.
I just feel like the idea of it was cool.
The idea was good, but it was so badly executed. That was the problem.
And I think a lot of people were disappointed too because they set up this big, like Halloween Kills was just madness. They set up this whole big, showdown with him and Laurie, and we didn't get that really. And I think that's why people were upset.
Yeah, Laurie and Michael were almost like side characters in this, and that was like,
they were, yeah.
And there's Jamie Lee Curtis, just talking about cancel culture and all that crap. There's Jamie Lee Curtis actually out and thanking fans for being with her, where every other franchise going, oh, if you don't watch this, you're a toxic idiot. No, you're a dick. Well, we hate you. Watch this, but we hate you. And there's Jamie Lee Curtis out thank you very much for supporting me throughout the years. This is the last hurrah, all that kind of stuff. I felt really bad for her.
Yeah.
Like, I was gutted for her because she was putting herself out there, thanking fans for support. Once again, horror is different from every other franchise, where we still have that. We still have the creators who are appreciative of their audience. and the people that actually keep them going, where every other franchise seems to have forgotten it. Or franchise genre,
Yeah,
sci-fi likes to piss on their fans, fantasy hates their fans, action movies hate their fans.
it
And
makes me think of Betsy Palmer. She was Jason Voorhees' mother.
mhm,
She I I was waiting in line for her to meet her one time, and I just thought this was just great. This gentleman that was in front of me, he was mentally disabled, and he was just like really, taking us. He was having a hard time, and he actually said to her, like, I'm really sorry for wasting your time. And she's like, no, you're not wasting my time at all. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here right now. So you're not wasting my time at all. And I thought that was just really great that she did that. That said that, that they're, that she appreciates people that were the fans.
yeah, and there's Laura Laverne. She's really a wee girl. She's only in her 20s,
Mm.
and she was in Terrifier 2.
Mhm.
And I see her on Instagram. I know you see her as a big smile on her face, and you can tell it's genuine. That she's like, I love going to these conventions. I love meeting people. Oh my god! And once again, the stereotype that everyone thinks we're like dark basement dwellers, like
Yep. Living in your mom's basement.
kill kittens, and eat red or raw meat, off the bone. And you actually see the shock in her that she's actually met horror fans. She's like, I love this. I wouldn't want to do anything else. And sure enough, signed up for another horror movie. Like
Yeah.
where somebody at that age, could go anywhere.
Hmm.
And especially with her martial arts background, she could jump in the action movies, no bother. But there she is, like, oh, this is great. It could be like this all the time. And how much does it inspire you to keep going? It's just a random question on the top of my head. Getting support from people who actually read your work and give you that feedback, or somebody just messages in, you're doing great. How much does that spur you to
Oh,
keep going?
it's amazing. Like, this is actually really funny. I did this October, I did like a flea market here, a Halloween flea
Mm-hmm.
market, and I didn't. It was a few months after Night of the Undead Horrors was out, so I didn't have anything new to really promote. I like to do these events when I have something new to promote,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have anything. But I went to it because my girlfriend, she makes like shirts and merchandise related to horror on the side, so we do it together a lot.
Do you
I
do
sell
like
my
a
books.
combined stall?
Yeah, like I sell my books, she sells her stuff.
Yeah.
So we had a table and I'm selling my books, and this girl walks up to me, and she picked up one of my books, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have this one yet." And she looked at me and she's like, "You're Eric Capitan." I'm like, Yeah." And she started just going off. She's like, "Oh my God, like I love your stuff. I can't believe it's you." And like she like wanted to give me a hug and like take a picture with me. I'm thinking, what? I just was like dumbfounded. I was like, what? I was like, this someone really just recognizing me for my books? It was just amazing. Like I just couldn't believe it. And that when that happened, just to know that I reached one person, if I could have effect on one person like that, it was like, man, I got to keep doing this, because it's the fact that there's someone out there actually reading my books, excited about it. Yeah, I got to keep doing it because it's just the best feeling in the world. Like there's like you get a high from it.
Yeah, it's a connection as well. When you
Yeah.
actually connect with, because I think it's more than ego. Because you can, if you want to fuel your ego, there's loads of ways to do it, and much easier ways.
Hmm.
Because I don't think people appreciate the amount of effort that bloody goes into, especially written format, especially today, where like kids just want to watch 1 minute videos,
Yeah.
and even that's getting shortened down to 20 seconds because of no attention span. There's a bit of a fight going on. Don't know if that's the right word, but bit of a battle to try and get folks back into reading again, so it doesn't get lost as an art. Because if you don't learn to read, and if you don't uh, appreciate spending time with something, you're always get like when it comes to like reading a contract or something that might be useful in life. Like it's same as exercise. If you don't do it and build up those muscles, so you may as well do it doing something
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I mean, reading it helps your imagination. It helps you build, it helps you build brain cells. Really, I mean, it does. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's same as lifting weights. It's lifting weights
yeah,
for the brain.
yeah.
I went through a period there, it was about 6 months, where I wasn't reading, and I actually felt myself like just becoming numb.
It's weird. Like I've had similar experiences like that. Like yeah, where And then when you start up again, you're like, man, why did I ever stop?
Like when I talk about books, I my commute in the morning,
Mhm.
I make a point of reading. That's my hour and a half to sit and read. And if it didn't have that, then I find it would be more difficult. So
Mhm.
I actually take the bus into work instead of the tube, even though it's a wee bit longer. But that's me sitting down, nowhere else to go. I'm sitting there, book, and I find myself actually getting through more material. Where if I come back here, then I'll be working on podcast stuff, or I'll be doing something for someone else, and not actually just reading for me. So that time, setting that aside to read is really important. Do you find yourself having to set time aside for certain things?
I try to I try to set time. Yeah, I can't speak right now. I try to set time aside for writing specifically, like on my days off. I try to do that. I try to at least get maybe like an hour done if I can, if not more. I try to set a goal for myself for pages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very often I don't end up making that goal, but as long as I write something,
Yeah.
as long as I can get like at least a page done every day, or not every day, but every my days off. As far as reading goes, I really do like. I need to. I'm getting bad about it. I need to set some time aside to actually sit down and read something too. And for pleasure, not just for, you know.
Not for work, because that
Yeah.
was the cycle I was getting in with this. The only reason I was reading was to create an episode
Mm.
or to review something or to give feedback, and I'm like, this has become a job,
Yeah.
and
It doesn't become
that's
fun
when
anymore.
you have to watch. Yeah, you have to watch that you still maintain the fun. The reason that got you into the thing in the first place is that sense of fun.
Mm.
Um,
Do you like
I-
reading physical books or ebooks?
yeah, yeah. My Kindle's sitting over there. In fact, one of your books is on my Kindle, but the thing's barely charged. Um, yeah, to me, there's something about having a physical book in your hand, turning the page, especially if I'm looking for something. Like
Mm.
maybe I want to go back to a chapter. Doing it on a Kindle or e-reader is bloody nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, right, shit, now I have to go forward, where at least you can put a bookmark in, flick back. And I'm a proponent for technology. I have been involved with technology since the early 90s. So I'm not afraid of technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially in the workplace, technology is the best thing ever. Cuts down processes. That technology lets us do this from our own homes halfway across the world, and connect. It's brilliant, but there's something about physical media.
Yeah. No, I agree. I collect movies. That's part of my thing. I like collecting movies, and
Mm-hmm.
because I see it like movies that are streaming. Like they edit them. Like a lot of and it's like Amazon will edit movies that
Oh,
if
big
they do
time.
something that's
And that's getting worse.
yeah.
They're even getting into cartoons as well, and you're like,
Hmm.
really?
Yeah. Like they took out Pepe Le Pew, right? Then they got rid of that character.
But
I mean, it was a skunk. It's a
was he
skunk.
ever successful? Were his
Pepe.
tactics successful? Did he ever woo
No,
the cat over? No,
that was the
he always made
joke.
a plank of himself. That was the point of it.
Yeah.
Believe it, when people talk about the message, that was the message. He was acting like a
Yeah.
dick, so therefore he didn't get anywhere. He just got himself hurt and made a fool of himself.
Yeah.
Duh.
I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, he wasn't assaulting the cat. I mean, I guess he was trying to kiss her and stuff like that. But
But he was got to the point where his all wanted attention.
yeah, but they're fucking
So
animals, though.
yeah,
They're animals. They're not people. It's
yeah, I'm just playing devil's advocate because if you want to put a message out there about anything, when he's going too far and his attentions were unwanted, well, he always come a cropper. So you know what I mean? But sure, let's
yeah.
cancel everything. We'll learn no lessons. Everything has to be sanitized and boring and beige. And if you talk about hating color, I hate beige and beigeism. Everything just has to be bland and corporate and the same and no surprises.
Mm,
Oh, God, may as well all be dead. For sake,
I
that's no
know.
way to live.
Yeah, it's like we might as well just all be the same and think the same, act the same, wear the same things.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
To me, the fun's meeting somebody new. And if somebody has a different viewpoint, if you hear Cameron and even Cameron and Adam and people that come on, we talk about movies, I might really love something and someone else will hate it. But that's the whole point of having the discussion.
Exactly. Yeah.
or I'll hate something and then I get called an idiot, and the why's up called, what are you thinking about? It's like, well, this is why, and then have to put my case. But that's the whole point, is if everyone's exactly the same, the same cookie cutter, then God, you may as well.
Yeah, and you know what I really hate, like here, like when Donald Trump won the presidency here, um, people were so just like, oh, if you support Donald Trump, I'm like, I can't be friends with you anymore. I'm like, why? I mean, I don't. I mean, not that I don't support Donald Trump, but I mean, I could still be friends with somebody who does. I mean,
Oh,
why? It,
mental.
it's stupid. It's like, why can't we? I just don't understand why people can go to that level to like hate something where they can't be associated with people that are, it doesn't make any sense to me.
But this mentality has been building for a while.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about. Everything's black and white, good or bad. And politicians come and go. A couple of years, they're right. A decade, less than, you get about a decade off them and then they disappear.
Yeah.
And and that's why nobody ever stays the same party, because once they fluff up or they're in too long, get comfortable, people want change. That's the way it works.
Hmm.
So getting upset and actually hating people and abusing people, there's something deeper going on though than that. That's definitely something. Especially the type of people that do that. When we talk about cancel culture, it happened with a particular indie small press publishing. I don't think we're talking about the same one, but they put out this stupid book. I remember one of my other interviews ages ago, we were talking about it, and everyone just jumped on them. Now, by reading the back of the book and the thing, you're like, oh God, we wouldn't read that in a million years. So it already done self-damage.
Yep.
But it was like blood in the water. And it was back to the witch trials. It was back to, searching for common. It was back to the visceral mob mentality,
Hmm.
which is horror in itself.
Yep.
When the herd gets like that, you can't reason with them. You just have to get out of the way. But sometimes you just can't get out of the way. They're looking for blood, and it's a beast that needs to always be fed. And we've seen this, they're always looking for somebody else. Who's next? And the excitement. It's a thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
No, I did a. In fact, well, I'm actually talked about your poetry, because I did a book of poetry on surviving the herd. Called it. It's all about the herd. It doesn't matter where it might be. The behavior falls into that same pattern. They all get together in their little clumps, find the other. They're looking for the other. They need the other. And then when they find the other, they have to destroy them. And then when they destroy them, they're lost again because they need the other. Because that's the only way to validate themselves. And it's a rinse and repeat. And should it be politics? Should it be movies? Should it be religion? It doesn't matter. It's the same. People are shit, man. They annoy me.
They are, yeah.
So let's talk about your poetry, actually, because that's something else you do, not just novellas, but if you put together collections of works.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny with my poetry, like I don't really I just do like free verse poetry. And really they're more like stories, I guess. I don't know really how I feel like I honestly fell into poetry, I guess kind of by accident, because honestly I'm not like a reader of poetry. I'll be honest, like I don't really read poetry that much,
Mm-hmm.
but I just found it kind of interesting. Like I like the ideas you can express the themes. So this was kind of fun to do it. Like originally, like my first book, the collection, that actually was supposed to be. I was in a. This is embarrassing, but I was in like a band, like when I was younger, and these were songs I wrote.
What'd you
And
play?
they became.
Or were you a singer?
I was a writer. I just played guitar, even though I did it really terribly, but I wrote the lyrics for these, and I ended up turning them into poetry because like, well, I want to do something with these, so I just turned them into poetry. And I mean, I still would like to do another poetry collection, but
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't. And I do have some new poems I've written, but I don't know what I'm going to do with them as of yet.
Yeah. My poetry comes out of a negative space, like it's frustration. Not so
Mhm.
much anger, but frustration.
Mhm.
And what I found is when I've vented that frustration, I've no desire to carry on.
Yeah,
It's like
and
once
that's
it's out of the system, I'm like, that was good. And then I wouldn't think of putting another line, but it seems to be like it's when I'm like, getting really agitated, that's when I want to put it down in the verse.
yeah.
I mean, that's what horror does. I think it, and that's why I think horror fans and people that create horror, because they're able to, it's like therapeutic to get that energy out. You can take this negative energy and put it into something useful. Like Night of the Undead Horrors, that was all negative energy. Like that's what it really was. It
Mhm.
was. I was just frustrated with the writing and like people. I was frustrated with like it seems I feel really like it's kind of sad that I felt this way, but for a while I kept seeing like all these authors, because I mean I've been doing this for a while, but I mean people have been doing it longer than me. But I kept seeing all these authors come out of nowhere that were just suddenly finding success. And I'm thinking, man, why? Like I've been doing this for so long, and these guys just randomly show up, and they're like, they got all these views, like
Straight
they're being
away.
talked about. And I felt bad because I'm thinking, well, why should I be jealous? Because I should be happy for them because the more successful they are, the chances of me becoming successful grow. They're growing the horror genre. Of why? So a lot of that was just being upset about that, and I was like, but I don't know. I felt really guilty about it because I'm thinking, why should I
But
even?
I'll ask you this: do you think, because it's something I've noticed about people involved in horror and the genre, and myself included, do you think you're a bit more introspective? So when you start having those feelings, you're like, hold on, why am I having these feelings? And do you think horror fans and horror creators are more likely to explore those feelings than, say, a romance creator or an action writer? Somebody,
Yeah,
there's something about this genre that makes you think more about, okay, this is a negative feeling.
yeah, because
Why is it
because
there? Where's it come from?
yeah, because I feel like in a lot of my stories, like a lot of my books, even either, this is gonna sound weird, but a lot of the books, like the characters, there's a piece of me in them. Like it doesn't mean that I am these characters, but there's some aspect of me in the story.
Hmm.
Um, Especially like I wrote this. I'll share this. I'm working on a new short story now, um, called Rejected. It's about an author who gets upset because this reviewer reviewed one of his books and she just like trashed it and like talked a bunch of garbage about it and like trashed him, and he started getting all these hate messages. So he ends up tracking her down and tries to like he doesn't really know what he wants to do. He wants to confront her, but it ends up turning violent. So like something like that was kind of I mean, not that I don't want to kill any reviewers. I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
Like I
but
love
that's the
reviewers.
whole point that we're
Yeah.
trying to make here is that if you explore those feelings and you take it to its ultimate conclusion,
Hmm.
you've no desire to actually do it. You're like you write it all down and you turn that negative energy into something positive. And
Hmm.
I think that's what horror creators do more than
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like
Definitely.
I'll tell you the difference between like when I'm in a horror writers group or a horror, horror theme group, because I join obviously in a lot to promote the podcast and share it with people. I find the sort of interactions more positive. But when I go into a general group, should it be writers, authors, so no those let's help each other type groups, the toxicity is ridiculous. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that there isn't any in horror because there's plenty of planks out there. Um, there's a social media app I use, Slasher. It's a social media app for horror,
Mhm.
and you will get the odd idiot. There's no getting away from them. That's just where there's people. There's going to be a dickhead.
Yep.
That's just that's just rolling the dice. You're going
Yep.
to get
That
ones.
happens.
Um, but I found that it's less so in anything that has a darker theme. Do you reckon it is because that we'll have to we'll look inside? It's part of the nature. And the material they either create or consume it. It's all about, oh right, this is going to you take it to the nth degree, you take it to the final conclusion where someone's dead and someone mightn't just be dead, someone's dead but they're coming back again, so they can kill you back, or vice versa. You kill them so you can kill them again.
Yeah.
It goes to those extremes. So when you visit there, what's there to do in the real world? You fancy words better.
Yeah. I just feel like I think this is gonna sound bad, but it's natural. It's natural for us to have. I don't want to say this. I'm trying to think without this coming off wrong, but it's natural for people to have violent tendencies. I think not that they would express them, but I think it's natural. Like if you're upset, like thinking, "Oh, I want to punch that person," like that's a
Yeah.
natural feeling. It's. I think naturally we're violent beings. That's part of nature, human nature. We're violent people. Obviously,
Well, we're
look at our
animals.
history.
If you look at the animal kingdom,
Yeah.
Over should it be territory or encroaching in someone's space? You look at hippos are a good example. They look big and fluffy and placid, but if a male hippo's born and the dominant male will just kill it because it doesn't want another rival, that's just ingrained. Cows are the worst parents ever. They'll kick their calf to death just because they're in a bad mood that day. We're all there, but
Yeah.
have you noticed that the people that actually do this stuff, and I know horror fans get demonized, and there's a lot that crossover between horror, metal, the subcultures. There's a lot of sort of binding theme. Once you step into one, you kind of step into everything. You're not always a fan, but you definitely tend to experience that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But we're okay with it. Once you're there, it's like, no, well, I'm actually quite good. I'm feeling quite happy.
Yeah.
I've seen the gnarly stuff, it's like, oh, well, okay, that could happen, but it's not, so I'm all right. But the ones that are like goody two-shoes, the virtue signalers, they're the most evil, nasty, toxic people you ever come across. The ones with a fake smile on their face and I'm so pure. And it's like, really, mate?
Yeah, these so-called religious people,
Yeah, that's because it's wokeness is the new religion. That's a cult. It's a religion, but it's still an expression. Like I said, the herd always goes by the same pattern. I'm not even offended by it. I just see it and look at it and go, yeah, I've seen that 100 times before. I'll see it 100 times again. It's not even worth like sitting twisting yourself up.
I agree.
So, you okay for time? I normally set these things aside for an hour, but I know I've kind of waffled on a bit and went a few tangents, but
I'm good so far.
All right, excellent. Just we'll wrap up pretty shortly. I don't want to keep you like, oh god, he wouldn't let me go and kept talking.
No, you're good.
No, but yeah, that's what it's all about. Just the world is a funny place.
It really is. Like, I don't know, people, I like people, but I hate people at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Usually, you probably see my posts when I've had a bad day in the tube coming home. I'm like, fucking don't I want to live in a cave and never fucking experience anybody again. Then I hang out with guys like yourself and have a laugh. And I'm like, do you know what? Humanity's all right sometimes.
I hear you.
I think it's just finding the right wavelengths.
Well, I work in a call center, so so I know. I mean, it's not terrible, but there's some days when it's just like, oh my god, get me out of this.
My one and only experience in a call center environment was a temporary job, and it was for an insurance company. Actually, a loss adjuster, so the sort of examine claims to see if they're worthy or not, and how much they were getting paid out. And it was after like a really bad winter over here. And burst pipes, people having to evacuate their homes, all that kind of stuff. So we were brought in temporary as a message taking center. Basically, what they wanted to do was sit there and go, "Sorry, but the loss adjusters are busy. Can I take a message?" Write down a bit of paper. Yep. Oh my god, the dog's abuse. And then eventually they set us up with computers. Then it became a call center, because at least you could go and look at people's claims and see what's going on and maybe help them out a bit. But I would never do that again. Like, I lasted less than 3 months. And I'm just like, and they wanted to offer me a permanent job, and I'm like, no.
I've been going on maybe, I think, 7 years now doing it.
No, I sit in the back. I'm a back office type person. Give me my spreadsheets and my systems, and I'll type in, I'll update stuff, and I'll move data from here to there, and I'll do this and that. Leave me alone. I'm quite happy. Don't micromanage me. I'm a grown adult. Don't yap in my face. I'm good. But yeah, fair play, dude. That's not easy.
No, it's not. But I tell you, I can come up with some pretty interesting ideas when I hear some of these people talk.
You got a new. Oh, guess what? You're my next victim. I'm gonna do horrible things to you in chapter 3. and I might bring you back for chapter 7.
Yeah. That's the
You
thing with
really
horror
annoy me.
authors. If you're ever mean to a horror author, you're more than likely going to end up their victim in the next book. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind, people. Don't fuck with horror authors.
How do you balance that? Because it's not easy. A lot of people think you just jump into this and you can do it full time and you can earn a living wage and it's all roses and picket fences and fun times. But the reality is we need to eat, we need a roof over our heads. But how do you balance the need to
You know,
actually earn a living, but being frustrated that you're not doing your passion?
I still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to balance it. Like I, like I feel like I haven't really, and it's kind of sad because I feel like I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. I mean, I'm still learning. I feel like that's the thing is once no matter how long you're doing this, I feel like you're always still learning. There's always
Oh,
stuff to learn.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I'm not really in the place I want to be, even though I have like 7 books out there right now, but I really don't feel like I'm in the spot where I want to be yet. I feel like I really need to, like with me, I feel like
Hmm.
my weakness is social media. Like I really need to be, and that's the thing is it's funny because I hate social media. I don't hate it, but it's great because for authors and people, it's what we need to promote our books. But at the same time, I just don't really, I mean, I like interacting with people, but I just don't.
There's a lot of guff out there, and
Yeah, there's a lot of
like we
stuff that I
talked
don't
about, a
like about
lot
it.
of nastiness, and
Yeah.
the same people who are nasty when they're behind a keyboard, they wouldn't say boo to your face.
Mhm.
They'd squeak away from you. Even I've noticed as well, some people are typing all the time, and I've invited them onto the thing, onto this. Oh no,
Mhm.
couldn't possibly do that. That's the camera. That's like, oh. It's like, what?
Yeah.
um, one of my, I'm sure you're familiar with Dell. She was the same. She wouldn't do it, and she'll tell you herself. She was like, I couldn't possibly do it, and then got her on once, and then that's it. She got the bug. She's like, oh, let's review movies. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love doing movie reviews. That's really fun. I
We'll
love doing that type
definitely
of
get
stuff.
that on board. That's what I'm trying to do with this as well. Get not just let's sit and talk about the creative process and let's get formulaic. Let's get on. Let's make fun of a cheesy movie or let's gross out of it like a really disgusting one that's went out. Let's talk about something that gets us fired up and just enjoy ourselves. And that's once again, I think when people see that, they're more inclined to support your work.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree, and that's really what I need to, like. I don't know. I like my social media posts are very sparingly. Like I feel like but a lot of times I feel like I don't really know what to say. You know what I mean? Like I mean, you want to know about like what am I going to post? Like, oh, I looked at the computer for 2 hours. I mean, what am I going to say? Like,
Do you
I'm
think
not.
that's the problem with horrors in general, or sorry, authors in general, isn't it? It's
I
either
feel
I have a
like
new book out, I'm writing a book. I have a new book out, I'm writing a book. I'm not writing,
yeah, I'm
and
not doing this. I'm not writing, but I got this going on. I mean, I don't know. You know, it's just finding the niche, I guess, to what works for you. And it's also harder because the market, like especially horror, it's so flooded. There's just tons of stuff out there, so it's really hard to get noticed.
yeah, for a genre that people thumb their nose at. I mean, there's plenty of creators, and once again, they're passionate creators.
Hmm.
Um, Horror is one of the most passionate genres I have encountered. That's why I'm still a fan. And while I'm watching other genres self-destruct in front of my eyes, and I do have a little bit of a snigger at it. Um, this genre will keep going because it'll just whatever's going on now, the craziness of the world, we'll just kind of breeze past it. In fact, we'll use it for material,
Hmm.
and then 10, 20 years again, we'll still be doing we'll still be doing what we do. And all this craziness and nonsense that they won't be forgotten about. It'll be the next thing, and horror will just breeze on through it and be like, haha, what can you do? We go to the extremes of everything in life and death and alternate universes and beyond. Like, what can you frighten us with?
And it is so versatile too. Like you can do action horror, you can do comedy horror, drama horror. Like it's just so many things you can do with it. It's like never ending.
Yeah, and it never gets stale. So I'm trying to introduce people to horror genres. Like, well, if this isn't your cup of tea, okay. And everyone thinks horror is the slasher. That's it, or the serial killer book,
Oh yeah, no,
serial
definitely.
killer book, or the slasher movie. That's
Hmm.
that's what everyone thinks horror boils down to. It's like you couldn't be further from the truth.
No, have you ever heard of a movie called Proxy?
Yes, but I can't remember if I've seen it or not. I've heard
That
of it.
makes me that it seems like because it's like
When did that
it's
come out?
horror, but it's like it's not what you think it would be. It was it was very interesting. Like like
When did that come out?
God, maybe early 2000, late 2000. It was I know it was one of those IFC midnight releases, I think.
Hmm.
But
Well, I'll need to poke that out. Like, and if you've seen this channel, you know the number of movies I've watched and do watch, and I still feel like I'm the tip of the iceberg. It's like you could never watch the horror genre. If you
yeah,
if you did Clockwork, I always make a joke. If you did Clockwork Orange style and just sat there taped to the chair with your eyeballs open, you'd still never get through the horror genre. Your body would be long decomposed.
do you consider that a horror movie or like horror? Like,
More of a social commentary.
yeah, I mean, I a lot of some people think it's horror. I mean, I guess
There's a horror
somewhat,
aspect.
but mhm.
When we were talking about, in fact, my buddy Adam, he came up with a good thing actually. When we were talking about Lord of Illusions,
Mm,
he says horror isn't necessarily the genre or the style. Horror is the storytelling mechanism or it's the plot device. And like you said, any movie can be horror. Horror is the aspect you tape onto a particular thing. But some 9 times out of 10, when you tape horror on it, then becomes horror because it's just that because it takes it out of the zone. I use the witch. The witch is a perfect example of that. If you took out the supernatural aspect, that's a drama
mhm.
about struggle and hardship and isolation, and it becomes a horror when you add in obviously the supernatural aspect to it. But that could have easily been still just as tight a drama and still as enjoyable without it. But the horror, it became a horror movie, and it only took a little bit of sprinkling, and then the whole uh, scene, the whole aspect, the experience of it changed. But if it didn't have
Mm.
that grounding in the first place, it could have been, it could have went really badly, but it didn't. And I
Man,
think
that's
that's
what
a good way to put it. Horror is the active ingredient you add to a good story.
that's what I love about it because it can evoke so many different emotions too. Like horror can make you feel scared, it can make you feel angry, make you feel sad. Like like a movie like I keep talking about movies, but or no, you know what? How about like The Girl Next Door, Jack Ketchum, that book.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, that provokes so many different emotions. Anger, you feel sorry for the person, and there's horror too. It's fear too. And or Red even, like that book, like I mean that's I'd say that's more of a drama, but really there are horror aspects to it. The
Oh yeah,
characters are more horror,
you're
you know.
minding your own business.
Hmm.
The worst monster is always human.
Hmm. Definitely.
The fact that you could be minding your own business and all of a sudden your life is turned upside down by a random encounter. If you went 5 minutes earlier, it's that whole story, no thing. If you went 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes later, or if you moved up the lake a bit where you sat and fished, if you had done this, that, or the other, would things have been completely different? You never know because life is so random. Do you find you appreciate life more?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's nice to know that I'm not, I don't have that type of stuff going on in my life. Nobody's, nobody's coming after me or trying to do anything like that. It's it's I actually talked about how horror is not a safe space. Really, actually, it kind of is because you can experience these terrible things without actually having to be a part of it. Like, you're safe, but you can still experience what it would be like to have something like this happen, or worst case scenarios, like like especially with like post-apocalyptic worlds or
Yeah.
movies, like where there's the end of the world. What would it be like, without
Yeah,
actually?
because we're all nice and comfortable. We moan and complain, but we're all really comfortable
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Um, if we weren't comfortable, we'd be eating each other.
Well, some people would probably be eating. I don't know. Some people, I don't think they would. I would want to eat them.
I don't know. Stick me on a desert island, and I don't know. The food starts running out. I'm not going hungry. Sorry, but somebody might be my best mate. But if it's down to it,
Have you heard about that Winnie the Pooh
oh,
Blood and
blood and
Honey?
honey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen the the Blu-ray is due for April release. I reviewed the trailer. It's got really mixed reviews. I don't
Yeah,
want it to be terrible.
I saw
I'm
the
afraid to watch it now.
they showed like I saw like the opening scene. It's like a where it talks about the story, and I guess Christopher Robin he ends up going to college and leaves them behind, and
Yeah,
they end up in the wintertime they end up killing Eeyore and eating him, and become feral. And
yeah.
but I guess it's like people are complaining about it because it's basically just like a slasher movie with a guy's wearing a Winnie the Pooh mask or like a pig mask. That's really all it is, I guess. That's why people were kind of upset about it.
Yeah, I looked. That's when I did my review of the trailer. I'm like, oh god, this better be. They better throw some CGI or something over it. It can't just be a guy in a Winnie the Pooh mask.
I
And if
guess
he
there's not
doesn't
even
say,
any.
"Oh bother,"
Yeah, there's
I'm
not
gonna
even
be
any
really disappointed.
Winnie the Pooh voices either. No
What?
character voice actors, nothing. It's just this basically just like a slasher movie, like a generic slasher movie, but with like that's what people were upset about.
Yeah, I'm afraid to see it now.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
kind of morbidly curious, but
um,
you know,
God. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it. I've done the trailer.
I know they're already greenlit a sequel, and I guess they're going to be doing a Bambi style horror movie too, which I don't know. I don't know what would they do with
Where could they
that. I
go
don't.
with that?
Yeah,
Unless Bambi becomes a killer deer, and like,
I mean
oh,
they should do Pinocchio. I guess they kind of did a Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, he stabs people with his nose. It's like,
I could see that going right
yeah,
through somebody's eyeball. I can see that.
right. That's going on the list. I
Oh
was like,
gosh.
you're making me work having to put more movies on the list. Right. So, a couple of last things, and then I'll release you back into the wild to go skipping through the trees. um, what advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to begin a creative project? Say they want to pick up the pen for the first time or anything. What advice would you maybe give to your younger self starting out
I
that
would
would help them?
say write what you know. Try not to um if you have something that's really ambitious, make sure you do research. Like make like research. Like I mean, obviously with writing, you do have to research a lot of things, especially if you're going to write a period piece, then you want to make sure you research that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure everything's accurate.
Costumes, houses,
Yeah, m-
weapons. Yeah.
make sure things are realistic. As far as like what would happen. Like I'm trying to think. Like there was one I wrote. I was writing. Oh, it was a poem about someone being like an autopsy, and like
Mhm.
somebody read it. Like I had somebody read it who was actually worked in a hospital, and like he told me like, well, this actually wouldn't really happen. This is how you should do it. So like things like that, like little things like that. You want to, if you're going for accuracy, of course, if you want to make things realistic, then yeah, you should do research. Um, Definitely, if you're going to be writing, hire an editor for sure. If it's something where you're going to write and want to release it, hire an editor. Like that's the most important thing. Like you don't need to spend a lot of money to get your book out there, but you do want to spend the money on getting an editor. And they're not cheap. Like the good editors are not, they're expensive, but it's
Mhm.
well worth it. Like you just need, like that's what's really holding me up right now is because as you know, everything's prices are going up for everything right now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Everything's
massively.
expensive. And I'm at a point now where I can't really economically, I have to focus on other things before I can even consider
Oh yeah, it's
hiring
all
an editor.
like I said. You have to have your basics.
Yeah.
There's no point throwing money away if you're not going to see a return.
Yeah.
But
And
you have to have your basics. You have to live because if you, uh, it's that old trope, isn't it, of the starving artist?
mhm.
That's nobody wants to be that.
Yeah. But the thing is, and I could put the book out there. Like I could like either find someone really, really cheap or God forbid even edit it myself, which I don't recommend doing. Don't do that. But you could put the book out there as is, but that wouldn't be it wouldn't be up to snuff for me. Like the thing is like I want like even though I'm self-published, I want someone to look at the book and not think about it being self-published. Just
Hmm.
think about, oh, this is a book that's out there. I want it to be just as good as something that's traditionally published. And so that's why I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I don't mind being patient. I have to wait a little bit longer to do it, but as long as I can have it to my standard, then I'll wait. Then I'm going to wait. You know.
Yep. And do you think people do want to write? I know I rushed my first novella. I think that's kind of putting me off moving forward because I'm not happy with it. Still,
Mhm.
there's bits. and really dear friends who read over, no proofread it and all for me and that, and they were happy because they know me and they got the concepts, but like it translates well. And the others, but do you think patience is a big thing?
Yeah, I think people
We've got that rush to get that first thing out there.
Well, it's really frustrating is that like all these articles I've read about, like, publishing a book, like they always say, like, oh, keep pumping books out there, put books out there, you gotta keep doing it.
Yeah.
But which I guess, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, keep putting books out there, and especially if you catch on with people. But at the same time, it's quality. To me, it's quality over quantity. Like, I'd rather have a really good book out there. Like, I'd rather have a really good book out there that I just finished that took me maybe like a year or a half or 2 years to finish than putting a new book out every month and having them just be awful or like not up to the standard that they should be.
Yeah, and there's other ways. Like doing this, for example, is another way. So you feel like you have to be out there. You do have to be out there. That's the nature of the game. No one's going to promote you more than yourself. But there's other ways to be out there than just pumping out, like you said, just pumping out stuff for the sake of just having content. And it's just finding that group. That's why I keep saying to you get, I know, obviously, to date, we have featured 67 authors since we started this podcast. And I keep saying to you guys, get involved. Come on, let's talk about it. It's nothing, it's not the main. In fact, it's better be actually having something to talk to than just going straight to a camera. It's more fun for me, but for you guys as well, then you're not worried about, oh, well, I haven't got a book right now. What can I talk about? Well, talk about anything. That's just give a wee bit of yourself and find something that is interesting. We haven't sat. We've been here, got nearly 2 hours now. Wow. Right? And we haven't just sat here and going, well, I'm writing this now and I'm writing that. It's been a fun chat, and that's cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's what I've learned too. Like, I'm thinking, well, I don't have a new book to promote, but I have books that I can promote though. There are books that have written. I can say, hey, I got this book. I mean, there's stuff you can still promote just because it's not completely new. You can still push it out there.
Yeah, and that's even I'm saying getting involved with the show in terms of the horrific tale segment. It doesn't have to be the brand new release. Yeah. Yes, if there's a brand new release, I try to talk to the author about, okay, can we get this episode coming out just before the release date so you can use it for promotion? And that's about, helping someone as opposed to anything for me, because we can put it out anytime. But somebody's got an older book they want to bring back to the spotlight, get involved. There's loads of ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I do. I mean, I'm working on this new book. It's gonna come eventually, but it's a long road. I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping to have it ready maybe by this summertime, but I don't know. I mean, it might not be ready till next summer. Who knows?
But it's ready when it's ready.
It's gonna be ready when it's ready. Yeah, because I try to put timelines on things, but it just doesn't end up happening. Lately, like, it feels like it's crazy. I was just talking about earlier, like each new book I write, it takes longer to do it, and it's more difficult. Like, you think it'd be the opposite. Like, the more books you write, the easier it's going to be. But no, because.
But are you raising the bar for yourself?
Well, yeah, I feel like I'll write something and I'll think, like, wait a minute, I already wrote this story, or I already wrote this poem. Like, I'm so worried about repeating myself that I want to make sure that it's something different each time, or something that's
How do you get past that?
Man, I don't know. You just got to keep pushing forward, I guess. Like, you just got to keep doing it. Like, man, I don't know. Like, it can be frustrating. Like, I told you, I wrote that novella, and I spent like almost like 5 months on it, and then I read it through it. I actually had someone beta read it, and they were like, this isn't good. They were like, and I appreciate them being honest. They were like, this is not up to the standard that you usually write. Like, you need to do, like, this is. I wouldn't recommend you move forward with this. Pretty much, it was like that kind of, like, man, that's.
Do you know what? If somebody isn't being nasty and they're doing it to help you, that's what we need.
Yeah, you do need brutal honesty sometimes. It's funny because I'll be honest. Like, I consider myself, I'm a sensitive person. Like, my feelings can get hurt easily, but when it comes to like writing or creative stuff, it's weird. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, someone could say, "Oh, Eric, you suck. You just suck as a writer." But it doesn't bother me at all. I don't know. It's weird how, like, because I listen to any feedback. Like when I got that really negative review that I talked about. Like I just listen to it. And I think like the thing is like I always try to be professional, no matter if they like it or not. I always thank them. I say, hey, thank you for taking the time to do this because at the end of the day, they're people, they're working, they're taking the like with you, like you have a job, you do your own thing, but you take time out of your day to promote me and other authors, and
That's
you know
it's a pleasure to do it. That's the thing.
yeah, but I mean,
It's I
it's
don't see it as a
respect.
job. You know, it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to do because in the end, you guys, you're on here with me now. We're talking, and what I could spend. I could do a lot of worse things for 2 hours. I could sit and watch a dumb TV show and waste my life. We're sitting having a good conversation here, and we haven't struggled. We've talked about loads of different subjects,
Mhm.
and that's cool. That's what you want. So
Yeah.
to promote you guys, you also help me make content, especially in the beginning when we was just starting this channel up. It's a pleasure for me too, and I'm really appreciative of you guys who trust me with your stories. Because in the end, it's I hope I've done them justice.
Oh no, I loved the two readings you did for me for Love Not Deceased and Night of the Ended Doors. I loved it.
Oh,
Like
that's good. I'm really happy because that's what it's all about. Just giving it so that wee bit of flavor, bring it alive and then entice the person to buy the full thing. That's what we want to do. Just reel them in. It's like, come on, come on.
and that's another piece of advice I would give people that want to write or authors. They be grateful. Any publicity you get, review, be thankful. Be grateful for it because it's really hard to get your name out there, and you should be appreciative of it. People, because it's a struggle, and that's the hardest part. Really, the
Mhm.
writing can be hard too, but that's almost the easiest part. Then the real work is getting it out there.
Yeah, just getting noticed. That's
Yeah,
like I
because
said,
it's not easy, especially
especially
in this
we're
world today.
it's the worst genre to do it because it is so jam packed.
It is, yeah, because
Well, good stuff. That's the thing.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of great authors, like really, really. And the thing that's sad is there's a lot of great authors out there that haven't even been discovered yet. Like I read, there's this book called, oh, man, I think it was Growing Up with Adam. I just want to find this book quick because
All right. Cool. Yeah.
it was a great book. Um, and this is the only book that this person's wrote to. Um, what the heck was
I've
it
actually
called?
found that with this show as well.
Oh,
I've had
Keeping
people who
Adam's
aren't authors.
Secrets. That's what
Yeah.
the book was
So
called.
it's called what?
Keeping Adam's Secrets.
Who's it by?
It's by it's I just want to make sure I give the right name because I think they have it's I think they have like a pen name, so I just want to make sure
All right.
it's
Probably find it on
AC Wit.
I see what,
There
right?
it is, yeah. I really recommend it because it's I don't know, it's the only book. It's just amazing to me. It's the only book they've written, and you would not think that because it's just very well written, and it's a
Just
really
that
good
lightning in
story.
a bottle that time. But that's what I said. I've had people who have submitted something that they're not an author, they've no
Mhm.
aspirations to be one, but they've just had this little story in their head and they just want to put it out there. It's like,
Yeah.
cool. And that may never see the light of day anywhere else, but it's a privilege for someone to go, well, this is my thing, and I felt like I had to create it. Would you display it? And you're like, no problem. Great. And
Mhm.
no time's wasted, I think, being creative.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like even with that story I trashed, like I don't regret writing it because it was like, oh, okay, well, it's doesn't mean I can't revisit it because it's still
Mhm.
there. I could definitely go back to it and rework it. Like I have like tons of drafts of all my old stories I have on here that were never used, but I keep them because you never know.
My thing, I'm still old school. I write down in pen and paper or pencil and paper because you know why sometimes pen, if you're not at the right angle, it doesn't go on. So I just start writing my pencil. The problem is trying to read it back,
See, yep, I was just gonna
transcribe
say
it.
that because I can write too, but when I used to do that, but I can't read my handwriting at all. It's off. My handwriting is awful. Like I can't read anything, any of it.
I do tiny capitals. I don't write in cursive. I learned that mistake. It's like the drunk spider over the page.
Yeah. I have like my handwriting, it looks like a 5-year-old's. Like it's actually a 5-year-old probably has better handwriting than I do.
Yeah, so don't practice with. I use the keyboard all day. It's very. The only to do is my squiggle when I'm signing something off. That's it.
Yeah, that's my signature is just like a little squig and that's it. That's all it is. It's like it's really nothing.
Right. Last thing. What's next down the pipeline Eric, tell everybody what's going on.
So
Or
I'm
what
working
you're
on
looking
this short story collection. It's going to contain, like, I'd say 95% new short stories, and then two of them are, one was originally published, and the other one was going to be published in that for that publisher that I talked about. And
Mhm.
it's a mixed bag of, as far as like, mostly extreme horror. Some of it's regular. I have some really weird ones. Like there's this one called Fantasy about this guy who's following this girl around a store, that's like taking pictures of her, fantasizing about her. Because there's people that do that, like voyeurs that do that type of stuff. And I
1
thought,
hour photo.
yeah,
That has to be
yeah.
the creepiest, one of the creepiest like horror movies. Robin Williams,
hmm
without actually having any blood or gore in it.
and that was an amazing. I don't think that really got much attention either. I mean, it did get attention, but it's definitely underrated.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a straight out horror movie.
hmm
No doubt
And
about it.
he was
Psychological
really
horror.
good at that too.
Mm-hmm. Was it along those sort of vibes?
Similar vibes, but probably a little bit more extreme as far as like,
Taking it to its conclusions.
like there's not really any like it's horror, but there's not any like blood or gore in it. Like nobody actually dies, or it's more just like the idea of it, like what's going on is the creepy, the disturbing aspect of it. I'd say, just like the thought.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. I could sit here going off on tangent. We could talk here for about 3 or 4 hours, and you'll be, oh god, I'm never going on there again. Never get away. Eric, I want to say thanks very much, mate, for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been
Thank you
an
for
absolute
having me.
blast. A lot of fun and great talking about just random things and through the horror lens. That's the beauty of horror. You can look at the world through a lens and get different perspective. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Obviously all the different platforms. Thanks to the chat. Chris, once again, thanks for being on. Amazing, mate, with your comments.
Thanks for the tech support.
It's good to have supporters. Keep up to date. Links in the description for Eric's website. Check out his work. Well worth it. Check out his episodes that we have on here too. Quite a busy couple of weeks coming up with the channel. Quite a lot coming on. Authors coming on as well and doing various things. So keep up to date with us. Come up to date with the channel. Do the typey clicky things. And until next time, keep it creepy. Keep it horrific.